Alright, so this is CEW here, back again with another prediction video, and for next time, it's actually surprising that this one actually came out way sooner, which is Gru vs Megamind. Which is, I was not predicting this after Easter's Bakugo vs Reze, but this was definitely a good choice. Now, for those who don't remember, Gru vs Megamind has been a highly anticipated fight matchup ever since 2023 from the Tournament of Champions, basically a battle royale of choice and fight. And if you remember from last year, the winner was Tom versus Wild Coyote, which what fought Kratos versus Ashura. And Gru versus Megamind actually was in the semifinals on the to decide who would win that, but I think it went second or third. It either won second only or Sailor Moon did. But besides that, thankfully we were actually fairly close to not getting this, as this was supposed to be 8,000 or 750, but they were kind enough to cut it short to officially get it. But I'm not gonna lie, Gru vs Megamind, I thought this would be another one-sided stomp, but the more I looked into the research and all, and remembering the movies and all, this is actually kind of close. And this could go 50-50, I'm not gonna lie. So this is broke down in 5 categories, once again, that I thought was going to be the main factor. Their stats, basically strength, speed, and durability. Combat, how they do in fighting. IQ, their intelligence. Their main factor probably is their gadgets and allies. Those two, of course, will be the main factor. So let's just start with stats. So with stats, was interesting, as from the original movie alone, there was a lot of factors to put in that put Gru pretty strong. For him surviving missiles to the face that made of mushroom, him near the end punching a shark that looks like a great white, as well as dodging heat-seeking missiles for real, and scaling to later villains like Victor, who in the short moon actually slung himself around the moon in less than a few seconds, and later on got more powerful as he scaled to El Macho, who his famous volcano feat with a small nuke and like dive all explosives on a shark exploding in a volcano. So yeah, the problem with Megamind that while he doesn't have that type of speed, he has shown some interesting durability. Especially one of the ones I thought of right away was him as a baby getting smacked around by asteroids at high speed. But besides that, we get some questionable ones, like him getting high-fived or like punched by Titan, who weakened, and debatable, but could scale to Metroman, who uses speed, was able to like slow down time enough that it was paused. But that is again debatable. But he also had a comic book run that apparently he crashed the whole city of Metroid in a ship. Don't know what happened the concept, but yeah, that happened, and was able to double jump. But when it comes to overall their uh, combat stats, it does seem pretty cut and clear that Gru does get the stats and having better reaction speed. And even though that Megamind can be debated for laser beams and all, he does not have shown to match in that type of power that Gru have, especially when you get to the minions, who can have shown to cut the moon as well as pierce a hole in the earth in Despicable Me 4, and like the barbecue short in the short films. So in terms of stat, Megamind does have it, but stats easily go to Gru. The same goes with combat. Megamind has shown not to be like a brains type, basically trying to outwit his enemies and thinking on the fly. But Gru can not only do the same, but actually knows how to fight. He, especially in the end of Despicable Me 3, has gone toe to toe against his villains in a fight, whether it's dancing or not. So this one goes with Gru, but IQ is a little bit different, as that honestly goes to Megamind. While Gru is smart, he still needs to rely on his minions and Dr. Gero to make his weapons and all. And he can make his plans and all, but again, he is mostly known for adapting on the fly in his quick thinking. Megamind not only can do that, but he also has fought has basically besides his um not his Megamind's can not predict everything, getting his emotions better of him. He still does is definitely smarter in not only making his own weapons, but basically planning out almost anything in events. So when it comes to that, we have 2 for 1. But with gadgets, ugh, gadget is actually kind of even for so, because you have starting off with Gru's iconic freeze ray. Gru also has this Gru mobile, his airship, the iconic shrink ray that was a main focus that he stole from that shrunk the moon, which was a big one. The Rise of Gru, the Zodiac Stone, which basically transformed a person or others into animals, as well as their powers, whether including mythical ones like the dragon. His Sticky Fingers, which is how he was able to get the stone, and that's about it with so many more with the fart gun and all. But with Megamind, he does have a lot of bit more one-shot potential, but so does Gru. But with Megamind, its weapons, his famous D-gun, which basically can turn anything, including person, into cubes, and reverse them with water. His Disguise Watch, which can disguise anyone from the wearer. His own freeze ray that was able to freeze a saber train. His hover boots and checkpacks that he can use to fly, as well as his invisible car. His iconic Forget Me stick, which is very powerful to lose tooth. His scooter in the comics. His hover bike, and as well as his other aces in the holes, which is his battle suit that he used against Titan. His probably his 3 main trump cards is of course his biggest range weapon, the Death Ray satellite, that he basically has in the books been confirmed that to actually not only destroy a small city, but he used it to turn the Atlantic Ocean into jello. That somehow was a thing in the books, which was crazy. And in the video games, could, especially with Gru able to like dodge the moon and all, it is possible he can dodge that. But his other 2 main ones is the Megamind in the Doomsday button short, where he basically has a colossal robot with his, I think, IQ and all. But another big one that I think that I thought of last night making this, what his trump card is actually the diffuser gun. Lily holds the DNA of Metro Man's and could technically scale Megamind's fight in his favor, especially getting his powers like heat fission and super speed, which, as shown with Metro Man's, was able to slow time enough for like a day, even though it was like less than a second for him, for others. So yeah, with this one, with the gadgets, it does look like it is even. It could ideally go. I was gonna say it is overall even, but it does seem like better control for Megamind. That is debatable, but I'll still put it a tie, as Gru has many arsenal that can change. so would think. But sadly, none of that matters if it wasn't for the allies. And especially looking at the free roll, the minions are definitely going to play a big factor in Gru's victory. Specifically, how they'll basically have Rabbit's Toon Force like of endurance, whether it's them again destroying the moon, surviving in the Minions movie, confirmed to live as longer than the dinosaurs, and as well as Smartest Group able to make inventions and all, and even defeated their evil counterparts in the second one, their upgraded ones. But besides that, I just even though that Megamind has minion as an ally as well as the brain bots, it's just that the fact the minions Gru's minions are just too durable. Whether especially in the moon short where one of them was able to survive in the vacuum space as well as survive big impacts, especially with Vector's rocket thing on rocket ship that basically crashed into him so big that it sent him back to Mars. And like the minions, whether we don't know they live or not, most likely that they did, especially from the later films. But overall, let's just get to the results. Shout out to the artist who made the left. It was pretty good, and they didn't show anything yet for the fight. So overall, this fight actually could be either way. This is actually probably the closest that, unlike the other three, maybe, well, yeah, I would say this is probably going to be the closest fight of the season so far, or especially the first half, as both of it, when it comes to their gadgets, thinking on the fly, and weapons that can give them the win, like more than one weapons that give them the instant wet and like takes out their durability and all, like this could be a fight that can go either way. That really depends on the factor. But at the end of the day, while I do think that I do want to think that Megamind actually, as the underdog, and does have a high chance of winning. Gru sadly just is the safer option or the most obvious option, as like his raw power of his like his stats are very much more known than than Megamind had. Not only keeping up, especially with the minions, but also being stronger than keeping up in both strength and speed as well. And that's especially with the minions being better fighters and like crazy durability, like Toon Force like durability. And this is not even counting him also, him actually it, not afraid to go toe to toe in fighting it with hands and all, which Megamind has. And Megamind, even with if Megamind does use Metro Man's powers and all, Gru could think on the fly and use his own weapons against him, especially able to get rid of Megamind's powers with his own diffuser gun. But besides that, and the less talked about the god awful Doom Syndicate TV show, the better. But I'm probably going to end it there. Thank you so much for watching. I know that this one is debatable, as like I said, this one is actually close in way, and I do like both characters. But at the end of the day, I do think that once again, Gru's noticeable raw power and stats, and his probably the big trump card is going to be the minions themselves are going to be enough to give him the win more times than not. And the gadget will probably play. The gadgets may ideally think of probably going to be the big factor of this fight. So thank you all for watching. I hope you enjoy, and I'm just going to celebrate my day. And I'll see you next time. Hope you enjoy Easter. Stay awesome.